Hey everyone, it's Sci-Fi Guy here, and I thought I'd do a video going over the teaser from a more story-based perspective and what we can glean from this trailer, from what we see, and a few of the things that I've noticed, some of them very basic, a few of them more advanced, and a few of them a little bit more in detailed. I'd like to thank the Based and Robust Network on Discord and the True Detectives there who have helped point out so many amazing details. To start with, we have this scene of them running along this huge vine, very similar to a shot we saw from the first movie, and in it we have these four characters, and we know that from the front to the back that this is Spider, the human adopted child of Jake and Neytiri from the first film. He is a child who's grown up on Pandora and was left behind at the end of the last movie. Behind him, I think that this is most likely Loak, the second eldest son of Jake and Neytiri. Behind him is a new character called Kiri, who is very interesting, and we'll talk more about her a little bit later. And here, all the way at the back, probably Tuk, who is the youngest daughter of Jake and Neytiri. And they're obviously heading towards the Ikran breeding grounds to get their own Ikran that we see flying around at the bottom here. One thing to note is that whenever I talk about Kiri in the video, it's highly speculative. The details about her aren't accurate yet, and no one really knows. So I'm just going to openly admit from the very beginning that anything I say about her is complete speculation. Don't take it as fact. Now, if we move on to the next scene, something very interesting. And it's obvious, I think, who it is, and that is Neytiri, female protagonist from the first film. And it's a beautiful showcase of the CGI. But I also think that this scene is of a younger Neytiri, because the one that we see later in the trailer looks quite a little bit older. Next, we have this scene of the Sully family flying on their Ikran. And not only is it the Sully family, we have probably Neytiri and Tuk on the front of the Ikran, Jake on his Ikran off to the left, and Neteyam, the eldest son, Loak, and probably Kiri as well, the fifth Ikran rider on the right-hand side, flying towards the Metakaina, or the sea tribes where they live. And you see this really cool shot of Jake with the different things on his back. He obviously has some weapons. He's got a gun over his shoulder. You can see the barrel there. You can see all of these different details on his body. And then you see this huge, almost mangrove-like structure. It's really quite nice. It's almost a callback to the original movie in the sense that we get to see the home of one of the tribes, that it's this huge tree-like structure, but instead of being a home tree, a giant tree, it's much more sprawling, something that's common in a lot of James Cameron's films. So then we have another really cool scene coming up where we see these kind of reefs that almost look like rice fields or fishing ponds in a way, that you'll notice that there are definitely Na'vi standing in them. So I would speculate that these are some kind of like fishing pods or some kind of farmland. And then directly in this next shot that's just about to come up, we immediately see for the first time all of these new details on the seafaring Na'vi with their long, like thick white tails. They're more like, I guess, frogish feet and really thick forearms. So the forearms really are much bigger than what we've seen previously. Which makes sense when you think that they're a seafaring tribe who probably spend a lot of time in and under the water. So this next scene is what I think is probably the most interesting from a story standpoint, at least from a speculative theory standpoint especially. This character, who I think is Kiri, the girl that was jumping at the start along the vine, she bears a striking resemblance to Sigourney Weaver's character's avatar from the first movie. You might remember her as Dr. Grace Augustine. The things that are very similar are the necklace and the patterns around her head. I've got to give a shout out to the Kelutral Discord server here and all the people on there. I'm going to put a link in the description below to the blog where they pointed this out, because it really is interesting that she probably or maybe a reincarnation of Sigourney Weaver's character from the first movie in some way. I'm sure there'll be lots and lots of theories on this from lots of different places in the future, but this is definitely one character where I think that is of particular interest. So the next scene, we see a human base. It might be the same base from the first movie, which is Hell's Gate, or it might be the new base that we know. I think is called Bridge End. We get to see quite a lot of it. We see this kind of robotic spider drone right off the flat with the exact same color patterns as some of the designs from James Cameron's Aliens, so we got a little throwback there. And super interestingly, we have these two characters. We've got the avatar form of Miles Quaritch, the big bad from the first movie, played by Stephen Lang, and we have Lyle Wainfleet in the back. He's one of his goons, both back in what appear to be Navi or Avatar form. And then again, we get this next scene, which they reappear in. When I first watched this scene, I actually only thought there were two Navi or Avatars in the Samson, two on this side, but actually, if you take a real close look, there are also two on the other side. And you'll notice this further in the next scene that's coming up. There's also a lot of other interesting details in this scene. There's obviously the Samson, but there's also some kind of new jet type vehicle that we see far in the background, which I don't believe we saw in the original movie. So there's definitely a much greater military presence. You see two of the Papa Dragon ships, lots of troops running around on the ground, a lot more amp suits. The military operation has obviously expanded since the first movie. There's also a lot of details going on in the background. There's the train running along the back and loads of these buildings far in the background, hinting at maybe even greater structures, unlike anything we'd seen previously. This then follows on to this next scene that seems to be looking at Loak and Spider, who are looking at something. And then the shot changes and we see exactly what it is they're looking at. So when it does turn around, it looks to be that there are actually four avatars, one on the right, one on the left, two in the middle. And they look to be at some kind of structure, and I believe it's the lab from the first movie, the lab where the final fight happened, Quaritch died. Also the place where the human avatar drivers would stay while they were driving their avatars. And again, another callback to the original movie. It then shows back to Loak and Spider, and also this young female Navi. It might be Kiri, it might be Tuk, I'm not certain. I'll leave that open to the opinions of others for now. Let me know what you think in the comments. And then again, as we carry on, you notice Quaritch's avatar coming over this log. You see the tattoo on his arm, and behind him is Lyle Wainfleet, one of the goons from the original movie, again returning. And if you look really closely, you do see that there are two further avatars behind them both from earlier. So then it goes ahead to this next shot of the children and Spider in some kind of confrontation. And a couple of interesting things are, it really shows the distinct tattoos on Spider's body, and it shows that he draws his bow in the exact same manner as the Navi, really indicating that he's been among them for quite some time. So just to be clear, and to go back a second, to show what's just happened, we obviously have some kind of confrontation between the Sully children and potentially Quaritch and Wainfleet's avatars. This, from the press releases, is called the Cove of the Ancestors, and it seems to indicate from the structure that there's a large unobtainium deposit here, but also that it's very important to the Metakaina clan. And as you can see here, we have them being, at least Jake and Neytiri, being introduced to this location by some members of the clan, given that formation. And then straight into the next scene, again, we get another nice close-up shot of lots of different family members. We've got Jake, who's kind of battle garb, Loak, again, a close-up shot, Neytiri here in the background, and then another new character, which I think is Soraya, who is the daughter of this next character who's just about to pop up, which is Ronal, played by Kate Winslet. Now, some people on YouTube I've seen have called this character very many different things, but I'm almost certain that this is the character that Kate Winslet will be playing, who is Ronal, the chief chiefess of the tribe, who is also the mother of this character here, who is, I think, Soraya. It will be interesting to see how their character dynamic plays out. And then again, I think this next kind of sequence is one of the most beautiful in the entire trailer. It seems to be Loak with this huge whale-like creature, which again, press releases have said is a tulkun. That's not confirmed. That's probably what the name of the creature is going to be. And now onto this next scene, we have another shot of the Metakaina doing some kind of ceremony. On the left, we again have Ronald, played by Kate Winslet, and here on the right, we have Tonawari, the chieftain of the tribe, played by Cliff Curtis. Now, I've seen a lot of people say that this is Vin Diesel. I can tell you for a fact that it's not Vin Diesel. I don't personally believe that Vin Diesel is in Avatar 2, or 3, or 4, or 5, but I can guarantee you he's not in 2. That is the actor Cliff Curtis, and he's playing Tonawari, and that is very most likely Kate Winslet, playing a very pregnant Ronal, which is also interesting that the first time we see a pregnant member of the Na'vi. Then the next scene coming up, again we have, it seems to be Jake and Spider running away from what the next scene will probably show to be, again, it's this really nice clear image of Quaritch that just shows up real quick. And in classic Quaritch fashion, he has his knife, which I think was a nice touch. Probably they're escaping him, or you would hope so. And then again, there's an tonal shift here. Now, so far, my personal thoughts are that the entire teaser has been in roughly chronological order. This bit, I'm not entirely so sure. So we see a Loak here, obviously upset that something's happened, and potentially the head of Neytiri down there. Jake consoling Loak, consoling Spider, and potentially the head of one of the females. We can't be really sure who it is, but something has obviously happened. There are, these plumes of smoke coming out of the background, and it looks like there's probably some really heavy destruction, which kind of follows into this next bit where we definitely get this little view of what I'm going to speculate is probably Tuk, given that she's a very small character, with Neytiri escaping, or at least inside some kind of human structure. Almost alien vibes, with the kind of corridor and lights going off, but also then mixed with the water spreading in. Again, very classic camera mode. So this next scene is again a beautiful scene. It's got Loak and the Tulkun, and I think personally this is probably one of the most beautiful scenes in the entire trailer. Even if I just imagining doing this, swimming under the ocean and stroking the underside of the wave, the feelings would be fantastic. Then we have again, I'm pretty sure this must be Ronal again, but she's in different garb. Assume that it's some kind of battle garb. And again, Tonawari mounted up and ready for battle. And then we skip to probably like one of the most controversial scenes I've seen on the internet, with a lot of discussion around it. Whether this is CGI or not. I'd love to hear whether you think this particular scene here is CGI or real physical practical effects. Comments. Let me know what you think. And then we have this shot of Jake coming out of the water on the back of this new creature, and that's definitely Jake. It's not Quaritch. You can clearly tell it is Jake on this new creature, which looks like some kind of maybe flying fish mixed with a sawfish, which I think is quite cool. And then we move into the final scene between Jake and Neytiri, where he says this really sincere and beautiful line about the family being their fortress. It's a theme that James Cameron has repeatedly said will run through all the movies. So it's not unsurprising that he would end the teaser with that motif. So I had to record this entire video up a mountain in a tent, so forgive me for missing out any specific details. If there's anything you did see that I didn't, please leave a comment or join the Discord. There'll be a link in the description below.